Another day, another Square Enix remaster of a classic JRPG, another one that never made it to Europe. Today is a good day. Let's take a look at Romancing SaGa Minstrel Song Remastered, a remaster of a remake. Before we get into it, be sure to subscribe. It will be the best thing you do today. Unless of course you also subscribe to my new channel, A Bit More Jordan, for a lot more me. Long retrospectives on classic games, including RPGs like Skies of Arcadia and Suikoden. If you love JRPGs, you will love my new channel. So, a bit of potted history for you. Romancing SaGa was a Super Famicom game that was never released outside of Japan, but in 2005 it got a PS2 remake which did see a release in North America. This is a remaster of that version. I tell you what I'm looking forward to in 20 years, if I'm not dead, is when this remaster of a remake gets a remake in itself, and then that gets remastered. It's never ending. Can't say I'm complaining though, give me all the RPGs, please. I think when this released, it got a bit of a bad rep. Don't forget, this was the first time the West had experienced any kind of Romancing SaGa game, and probably had expectations of what kind of game they thought it should be, rather than what it actually was, which is very idiosyncratic. Sure, they had SaGa Frontier beforehand, but Romancing SaGa is even more different than that. As it is a Romancing SaGa game, don't go in expecting a Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest type of experience, because these games just don't flow the same. Romancing SaGa is famed for its free scenario system, which means do whatever the frig you want. Who needs pacing or structure? Not these guys. This is a very open-ended, non-linear experience with a map open from the start. You can even choose which protagonist you want, each of which have a different experience, and if you want the true ending, you need to complete the game with all of them. Of the 8 characters, each of them has their own small introductory story before being totally free in the world of Mardius. The point of which is just to complete quests, of which there are tons. This is a huge game, but it's definitely not going to sit well with those who love a good JRPG story. I mean, that's why I play JRPGs. I play them for the story. It's why Skies of Arcadia, Final Fantasy VII, and Suikoden rank as my all-time favorites. It ain't got nothing to do with the battle system and the gameplay mechanics. No, it's the story, of which this has very little. This is more about exploring the world, not entirely making up your own story, but you'll probably experience something different to other people playing at the same time. There are so many little quests to accomplish, which is what you'll be spending most of your time doing. Aside from the 8 main characters, there's also more than 30 additional characters you can find and recruit for your party. Some kind of generic, others more fleshed out people. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I completed the game with all 8 characters, because really, I don't have 100 hours to spare, and it's not a game designed to be played back to back. You need to have a break between runs, that's for sure. Of the 8 characters, as I said, they have their own introductory story parts. Some are longer than others. For example, the first dude definitely has the longest of the bunch, while another character has next to zero introductory story. Because I'm a man of culture and integrity, I of course went with the belly dancer lady, because why wouldn't I? And once you've got her introduction out of the way, the world is your oyster. No, it's not slimy, nor does it make you want to gag. It means you can go anywhere. There are dozens and dozens of places to visit. Sure, they're pretty compact, but it's nice to have so much variety, and you can just explore new location after new location. The only thing stopping you is knowledge about the locations. Speaking to NPCs is something I like to do in JRPGs. Some people feel it's just vapid flavor text, but in Romancing SaGa Minstrel Song, it's borderline essential. Because without indication, NPCs will tell you about locations around the world, at which point you will be able to go visit them. This is a cool way of opening up the world. It makes it open without being completely open. Another way to unlock more locations is via recruiting characters who have knowledge of areas already, perhaps where they're from. And if you want that, it's best to recruit characters who are also potential main protagonists, because they be smart little sausages and know more than those lowly peons. Speaking of recruiting characters, there are so many of them that it truly gives a lot of variety to the game. Each character often has their own starting crew. Barbara, the dancer, has her entertainer helper. Claudia, who I tried a little bit, starts with a bear and a wolf. Now that is badass. The only issue I have with this is the fact that if you have a full party of 5, you can't recruit anyone else. You have to go find that spoony bard and dismiss one of them, then go back and try to recruit again. That's if they don't piss off in the meantime. Considering the quality of life features added to this game, it would have been nice to have made that a bit smoother and less of a hassle, since the faff really made me less willing to experiment or try new people. I couldn't be arsed. Now, there is a lot going on in Romancing Saga. I can bet when you first pick up the game, you're going to be feeling rather uncomfortable. Not because you have a weird crush on this little stumpy lady doing a belly dance, that's one thing, but because there's a lot going on. There's a class system, there's proficiencies, there's fighting styles, a myriad of random battle mechanics, as well as about 5 shops in one city for no reason, aside from having an affinity system with the shopkeepers. I'm not going to go into detail with each of these because frankly, it bored me to tears getting my head around them, and explaining them in a review would probably bring me criminal charges. I think it's a game that stretches itself a bit far in certain areas. It's ambitious, I'll give it that, but it's not the most welcoming JRPG out there. But like I said, they have included some quality of life features like a speed up feature, which in the options you can select it to be either 2 times the speed or 3 times, which is awesome because there are a lot of battles. They're technically not random battles, but they are so often they're more frequent than random battles because like you have a long ass corridor and just tons of enemies to go through. There's also a quick save feature alongside an auto save feature, which is literally life-saving if you end up in a fight you most certainly weren't prepared for. You can also choose to have your party members grow faster, which I guess could be labeled as an easy mode, but realistically, it just stops pointless grind. It feels nicely balanced now. Now, Romancing SaGa Minstrel Song is available digitally for the price of a hipster burger, 20 quid in the UK, 25 bucks in the US, and that's for a big fat 9GB download. It is available physically, but only in Southeast Asia, Singapore, that kind of area. But thankfully, it does have English and will play on any Switch console, so you can have a proper physical cartridge to keep forever, even when the Switch servers go down, or you can sell it on once you've had your fill and get your money back. So, if you want to grab a physical copy, check the links in the description. That's where you can import it and support us at the same time if you click our link and buy. We love you. Plus, in return, we can give you something back. Yeah, if you click our link, you can get a lovely 5% off any physical item with our discount code SWTV5. Now, that code will run out at the end of this month, so if you're watching this in the future, be sure to subscribe and check out the latest Let's Get Physical video every Monday for the most up-to-date discount code. I think that's really good value for money because you got a lot of content here, a lot. And as a remaster, I mean, they've done it okay, I suppose. And while this game looks good in most areas, especially with the HD rezzed up, the cell shading really does pop up, there is one artistic choice that stands out like a sore thumb. And by sore thumb, I mean stumpy ass characters. As someone who is, shall we say, vertically challenged, it's nice playing as someone as stunted as myself. I'm not even joking. When I was 13, my legs stopped growing, but then my torso just thought, yeah, I'll just carry on. Whatever. So I'm with these Romancing Saga people, even though just like myself, they are visually repulsive. I can imagine this did not do itself any favors when it released in the US in the same year as Dragon Quest VIII, and not long before Final Fantasy XII. I mean, it looks worse than Final Fantasy X, so you can see where the reluctance to accept it was during this time. I wouldn't say time has made it age gracefully, it's still a very acquired taste, but now we can take it out of 2005, it's easier to swallow, unlike that oyster from earlier. In terms of performance, I was a little worried when I first saw the trailer, since there were some rough parts in there, but that just appears to be the cutscenes that were probably more difficult to enhance for this remaster. It's more like animation, like a FMV kind of thing. Those are very few and far between. The gameplay runs very smoothly indeed, even though the camera is a bit of a pain in the arse sometimes. Why can't you move the camera by itself? Musically, it's just sublime. Kenji Ito is an unsung hero at Square. Sure, he's remastering tracks from a Super Nintendo game, but he's added so much life and energy to the epicness into the soundtrack. There's catchy tunes, some beautiful pieces. I'm a big fan of Claudia, it's just lovely, and it's one of my favorite Square pieces that I've heard. I think more people need to listen to this soundtrack. And the remastered soundtrack is getting a CD release, so if you want that like myself, then check the links in the description. You can pre-order that alongside your physical Switch cartridge if you want to. But also, you can listen to the music in the menu, which is really nice. Seriously, when you boot it up, just go straight in there and listen to Claudia's song. Overall, Romancing Saga: Minstrel Song Remastered is a game that was probably misunderstood for the time. While I'm not going to say it's Square Enix's best ever JRPG, I do think there's plenty of merit to it if you take it out of the context of its original release. Visually, it was a step backwards from previous RPGs, even the story took a step back, seeming very unfocused, but Romancing Saga has always been like that, just doing its own thing, and I respect it for that. It's something a bit different. There's lots of content, little secrets. Everyone who plays this will have a different kind of journey, which I'm pretty sure is the series' raison d'etre. When you play a Final Fantasy game, everyone has the exact same journey pretty much. When you play a Romancing Saga game, you'll have something different from the person next to you. Now this is not my favourite Saga game, Frontier still tops it, but it is commendable. A different effort that's perhaps stretching itself a little bit thin in a few areas, but it works well. A 7.5 out of 10. Alright, thanks for watching this review of Romancing Saga: Minstrel Song Remastered. God, that's a mouthful. If you watched all the way through, many thanks to you. I'd like to know who the true legends are. Please leave me a spoon emoji in honor of the Spoony Bard. Please go check out some of our other videos, especially regarding these juicy Square Enix releases that we love to cover. And be sure to check out my brand new channel, A Bit More Jordan, for a lot more me, focusing on long retrospectives on classic games, including plenty of JRPGs. And finally, if you want to pick this up physically, along with all the other Romancing Saga or the Saga series, the imports with English, then check the links in the description. They're all there for you, and you're gonna want them all. Take care.